get up in the morning, we fall out of bed, straight onto our computers to work. When we get 5 minutes break, we go straight onto our phones. In the evening, we relax, maybe with a film, maybe a game on our favorite console, or maybe a series. If we want to meet up with friends, we simply send them a Zoom link. But with certain measurements being necessary during this worldwide pandemic, it also limits our choices of how we can spend our time. Thanks to social media and the internet, we can stay connected, but the variety of tech-based pastimes doesn't stop there. The question: would we survive without all of those screen-based activities? What impact do they have on us? Today, we've got a very special episode because we've got your opinions and your experiences. Thank you very much to Phil Gossan, Alex Dawson, Danny Cawtheray, Yvonne Monyer and Kaire Olesk. Our first one, Zoom, live theatre and social interactions. Never been easier, thanks to Zoom, thanks to Microsoft Teams, and so on. But is it quite the same? How do we experience it? And what do we do if we spend the entire day in front of the computer and then when we want to see friends, we're still back at the computer? Just listen to Phil, what he's got to say.
So my experience of digital during lockdown is twofold. I have it for work and I have it for my personal life. So Zoom very quickly became our best friend at work. We started using it for digital training, and we've now moved on to Microsoft Teams. We also use Blue Jeans, and it's helped us keep in touch with our kind of main retailers that we work with to enable them to deliver training as well as product information, because they're still working and selling to customers, so they need to know what they're talking about and what our products can offer. So, digital and online resources like Zoom and Blue Jeans and Teams have been really useful for me at work, enabled me to kind of keep doing what I do. But also in my personal life, I've been able to use it to keep in touch with friends, whether it's doing quizzes on a weekly or fortnightly basis, as well as kind of social events, open mic nights, and play readings and things like that. So even my hobbies haven't been overly hit, because I've still been able to keep in touch with people that I wouldn't normally be able to keep in touch with during lockdown, because we've got online resources like Zoom and Teams and Blue Jeans, etc. So I'm really grateful we've got that type of technology, and long may it continue, and I hope to use it loads more going forward.
Smartphones and social media. Never has it been easier to stay connected with people through social media. Just send them a message or send them an emoticon, whatever you find the easiest. But is there a difference now when we are kind of relying on social media to contact other people compared to maybe last year, when, well, we could still go outside and talk to people? And does that make us more reliant on those social medias? Listen to Alex, what he's got to say about that.
So for myself, I'd say I'm pretty reliant on social media and smartphones, particularly this year with the news app. After COVID kicked off, it was pretty much all that I looked at, and I imagine all that most people could look at when they're in lockdown. And I found I've always been quite drawn to social media. I'm always checking people's messages. I'm quite good at responding to that. I'm not great at posting loads of stuff. I don't post a great deal of things, or day-to-day type things I don't do. I'll post a lot of travel photos and things that I get up to, things that I think would be exciting. But I'm also kind of sensitive if people like them or not. That's something I'm bad at. If I, doesn't get much of a response, I will delete it. I'm interested to see if that's actually more common in people than you'd think. I think most society is addicted to smartphones and social media, particularly young adults and young people. I think older people are becoming more addicted to social media, but they're not, for the most part, not super aware of all the different platforms. They might be more aware of Facebook, but not Twitter or Instagram or the other ones. And I think, that's growing. It's becoming more and more and more common. People using social media for things like games and joining different groups for Facebook groups and things like that. And I think smartphones come into that too, because your phone is becoming everything now. It's your wallet, it's your calendar, it's your lifeline, and that's something where I actually draw the line with smartphones. I wouldn't want to do the Apple Pay or Smart Pay type thing. I don't like that idea of everything is there, so I try and skip that if I can. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on smartphones and social media.
Games and consoles. With the new PS5 coming out, the possibilities seem endless. There is no, I can't play this anymore, because almost every game is now in the market for almost every console, and even if you fancy playing a really old one, you can get them for the computer. Even the first ones that came out in the late 80s, early 90s, you can find for consoles nowadays. And the graphics are incredible. But what problem does that bring? For example, with very violent games, does that maybe change the way we look at murder, or generally does it change the way we look at reality in general? Daniel's got an opinion about that, so give that a listen.
Are we dependent on technology? As a society, yes, and that's a good thing. It's progress, things moving forward, people living longer, getting around places, everything happening at a faster speed. There's lots of positives. However, are we allowing ourselves to become dependent on things that maybe we don't need to? Gaming is a massive, massive industry, be it app games or console games or VR games. Many years ago, these weren't available so readily. Now people work all day at a computer, come home, jump on their games machine and play. I do occasionally. I have at the moment got an Xbox One, and I enjoy playing it. But are we allowing ourselves to become too dependent? These are things we should be able to turn off. Apps we should be able to turn off. The internet we should be able to turn off. But we don't. We can't. They've constructed such an engrossing, enticing, visually brilliant piece of easy play that the thought process doesn't need to be there. The imagination, it's all laid out. I think that could be a massive concern. Technology, brilliant. Our allowance to let ourselves become dependent on it, massively risky. The head of Netflix famously said that their biggest competitor was sleep. And I think that is a very frightening truth, and not just based in the TV industry, but across the great gaming platforms as well, and the mobile platforms. How do we stop it? Who knows? Should it be stopped?
If you ask a kid nowadays what their favorite pastime is, they would probably say it's playing Fortnite or watching a certain YouTuber. And considering the times, probably not a bad idea either. But does that have any issues in terms of their imagination? Do they still have the same imagination as if they would be playing outside? Or does it maybe have no difference at all? Yvonne can tell you a little bit about that, so give that a listen.
And I would like to discuss how the use of technology impacts the imagination of children. As a drama teacher, I can definitely see in class that there is a connection between how much technology access the children have and how they use their imagination in class. When I speak about technology access and I speak about the younger children, I mainly refer to using iPads or phones to watch movies and TV series. To me, younger children are all children that are no older than primary school age. For example, in drama teaching, there is a popular exercise called Magic Box. And in this exercise, you present an object to the kids and they can come up with an improvised scene. For example, this loo roll can become a ball, or it can become a cat, or it could even become a scarf. In the same way, this loo brush could become a guitar or a weapon. Now, what I find is that when young children are exposed to technology and have a lot of access to movies and such, they will normally choose objects which are very specifically part of certain productions. For example, this loo roll, that could be a ball, will be a very precise kind of ball, like the golden snitch. So, of course, the cultural reference is clear. Having said that, older children of 12 years and above tend to use technology to enhance the imagination that they already have. So they may use stop motion videos to create stories that they came up in class. So for them, the technology is more of a vehicle to reach the expression of their imagination.
But what if you have to work from home? Or what if you aren't allowed to leave the house at all? What is your other choice of staying in contact with other people? Our elderly, normally you would think they don't know that much about technicalities. They don't know that much about Facebook and so on. But now they have to rely more and more on it because of the current situation, that there is no other way of staying in contact with people. So they're becoming better and better. It's a good thing, don't you think? But I've got someone who knows a bit more about that. Listen to Kaire.
As a healthcare assistant, I do see a lot of need in technology. First of all, there is a platform that I communicate with my agency or the employer to make sure that I will be on the shift on time, or if there's any complications in the way. We rely a lot of communication through our technologies. Also, I can set up my availability through the platform, which is basically an app on the phone. When it comes to clients and people who are most vulnerable, who did have to isolate and during the first time of the epidemic, the first wave, they relied a lot on the technology. The computerized education is a blessing and a curse. Going through the university myself, there is no education without the technological gadgets, the access to internet, the plethora of information that is out there that we just need to search. And the education has developed from just learning and memorizing things to being able to search things out in an appropriate way and being critically analytical of which information is the correct one and making sure that you are using the correct information and understanding where the information was coming from. That is the new way of education now. To add to that, the most vulnerable who had to stay at home, in my example, I know more of children who had to stay at home, then they were absolutely reliant on the platform where the homework and information about learning was posted on. So that was taking pressure off from teachers, because instead of sending a post snail mail, if you wish, to every student's home with their required homework, they were able to see it from the platform and then deal with their homework there accordingly. And the parents were able to get help and references from how to help their children, how to fulfill their educational needs. Now, when it comes to assessments and the classroom experience, then luckily the Zoom meetings came handy there. Having a video conference with the schoolmates, it took away a lot, but at the same time, it gave an alternative to continuing the education to the levels that they needed. So without that, we would have had loads of children staying at home, reading a book as one of their mandatory homeworks, or trying to educate themselves. And don't get me wrong, parents had a huge amount of stress upon their shoulders of having to take care of the household and teaching their kids at the same time. Having Zoom meetings and these classroom times were beneficial, and without that, the children would have been lost a bit, and the parents would have gone mad, I guess. Add to that the necessity of having the availability and the readiness of the technology, the internet, and how it adds to the equality of the education that everybody receives. Because please bear in mind, there are not a lot of families out there who can afford computers for every child, or who could even afford an internet provider for that matter. And how those children are going to suffer because they are not going to have the equal educational level met. They're not going to have the equal opportunity for the rest of the kids. And what happens with those kids who do not get to rely on technology that much? So now, yes, technology has become absolutely a necessary part of developing as a human within the education, and to be reliable and a person who could get a job easier. So that it was just the only thing I wanted to add to that.
Well, everyone, it seems that in more than one area, and due to this year's pandemic, our dependency on tech has either developed or grown. The results of that can be positive, for example, to keep a social life in times like this, or negative, in that our imagination and attention span is developing backwards. But what is your opinion? Let us know in the comment section down below. Also, huge hugs and love go out to Lauren, and hopefully she's going to be better to join us for our next episode.